welcome to the Wake Up Show. My name is Kingsley. I hope you're doing great. I hope you're doing fantastic. So today we are going to Canada, and in Canada, a father has been arrested for discussing child's gender transition in defiance of court law, according to the New York Post. What is the story? What is the church's view on the whole transgender issue? And what is the general societal implications of cases like this? Let's get right into it. So, we're still doing news headlines, and today we're looking at the story. I mean, I saw this story when it first broke. I was like, this is a joke. Yeah, maybe there was more to this story, but then I went through the article and I was like, nah, this is actually happening. You know, people are being jailed for quote unquote misgendering other people. In this case, a father misgendering a daughter, right? And it is very serious, and it is high time we woke up. Canada has just gone down the cliff. Like they're right down there in the ditch when it comes to, you know, leftist woke, you know, craziness. But it is not far off. It is not far off. Okay, so I just want to say a few things just before I go into the story. I just think it is important for us to know the Christian approach to this issues like this. Okay, now whichever way you look at this issue, right? Whether you're for or against the whole transitioning stuff, right? It is no doubt, no one can argue that people who have gender identity issues are going through serious problems, right? They're going through very serious stuff, and because of that they need critical care, they need serious help. And so it's not something we can just brush off, right, whether you're for or against. Now the Christian approach to people with gender dysphoria, or whatever you want to call it, is that God created everyone in his own image. Right. Therefore, we as Christians we have no option but to treat everyone with respect and dignity. Okay. We as Christians must treat everyone with respect and dignity. Now, this respect is often mistaken for empowerment or emboldenment, or promoting or endorsing people's decisions and lifestyle choices, right? This is not what we're talking about. When it comes to respect, love, treating people with dignity, we are talking about serious stuff here. We're not just talking about, you know, promoting the message. We're talking about loving the person, having compassion on the person. And when you see people going through these issues, you don't just mock them, you don't just attack them, but then as a Christian, you have compassion upon them. And because you love them and you have compassion upon them, you want the best for them, okay? But then our society has got it all wrong. Now, I want us to look at the story, okay? Let's have a quick look at the story. I'll try and read some bits. It's not that long. You can go in and have a read yourself. It's from the New York Post, okay? New York Post, so you can go and have a look. Let's see how far we can go. Right, so a Canadian man was arrested this week after violating a court order that banned him from speaking publicly about his son's gender transition. Let's skip. Okay, so the teenager was born as female and reportedly identifies as transgender and prefers the use of male pronouns. Okay. Now, the father has been in litigation fighting this battle, and apparently it's a battle between him and the mom. The mom is a psychologist and an endocrinologist. I hope I said that right. And basically the mother is in favor of it, the dad is not in favor of it. Okay. Now, This is what the court said. The father's refusal to respect the boy's decisions regarding his gender identity is troublesome. This is according to Chief Justice Robert Bowman and Justice Barbara Fisher. They wrote this in January, so I think the decision took place in January. The father's rejection of his son's identity has caused the boy significant pain that has resulted in rupture of what both parties refer to as an otherwise loving parent-child relationship, justices reportedly wrote. Okay, very, very interesting. Let's see what the father had to say. He said, the father issued an arrest warrant on Thursday, March the 4th. I will be turning myself in on March the 16th. The man posted in a Go Get Funding page where he has raised more than 22,000 Canadian dollars amid his legal fight. So this is where I realized that actually it's not like he was just fined or he was told off by the judges or whatever. He was actually being sought after for showing contempt to court, which is quite ridiculous for something like this. He is the father. Okay, so he said, I'm fighting the far left based on civil disobedience defense. I'm now back in court for a 5-day criminal trial that will last at least 5 days, from April the 12th to the 16th, a trial that could land me in jail for up to 5 years for speaking the truth about state-sponsored child abuse. And he said, FYI, I am blocked from sharing any videos at this time that oppose the sterilization of children. So the father just went straight for it. He said, I'm not standing for this nonsense, right? And he said they've created a delusion and they're forcing parents to live in this delusion. And he concludes by saying that what happens when the bubble explodes and the delusion ends? She can never go back to being a girl in the healthy body she should have had. These kids don't understand. What kind of 13-year-old is thinking about having a family and kids? So, we see the issue here. The dad is like, no. The mom is like, yes, this is the best thing for our child. And so they're going back and forth. But I want us to look at a few things here. Number one, the idea of a slippery slope. People are always like, whenever there is some sort of revolution, or a movement, people are always like, guys, we see what you're trying to do here, but then let's be careful because this can go south, right? This can go left, right? And then people are always like, well, what are you? Like, what is wrong with you? This is never going to end like this, okay? This is what we want, and when we get it, that's it. No, we don't have any problem with anyone, right? It always sounds like that. But then, some way, somehow, the slippery slope assertion always comes to pass. And in this case in Canada, that is what we're seeing. The guy faces 5 years in jail, right? For loving his daughter. That's all he did. At the beginning I was saying the loving is not the same as promoting or endorsing. You can't argue that this father doesn't love his daughter. There's no way you can argue that. And so for those people who are, going out there and, are trans activists or whatever they call themselves, I don't see how you can look in this father's face and go like, you are causing abuse to the child, right? He loves the child. There's no denying it, right? I can't, same goes to the mom. I'm sure the mom wants the best for the child. But then you see how this gets complicated. Now the child's rights override that of his parents. So slippery slope is very dangerous and it's a real thing. And people are always going like, oh, well, why do you care so much? It's just a pronoun. Okay, it is just a pronoun. Let's see. Now, a lot of you may have come across Jordan Peterson, and in 2016 he was doing a lot of debates, and I think the issue of pronouns was what made him popular, right? And so in 2016, Canada introduced a new law. I think in 2017 it got passed, and in this law, let's see what it says. I'm just going to read a brief part. It says it was added to a section of the criminal code that targets hate speech, defined as advocating genocide and the public incitement of hatred, where it joins other identifiable groups. Now, this is very broad, and this is what Jordan Peterson was arguing for. He's like, this is too broad, and a lot of people are going to be implicated, and so we should be careful. But then people won't listen. People are like, oh no, what? No one is going to send you to jail for misgendering someone. But then now we have a father facing jail just because he's not going to call his daughter his son, right? And he wants the best for him or her as well, right? This man wants help for his daughter, but then the judges are like, the government is like, no, you don't know what you're doing. We know what is right, therefore go away, right? And they're literally threatening to put him in jail. And the issue of children transitioning is another big one. It is another big one. I want to show you this story. A person by the name of Miss Bell. You probably have heard of this story. She started transitioning when she was, she was a teenager, and she filed a lawsuit against the Tavistock and Portman NHS Trust that she didn't get the help she needed, basically, and they just sort of put her on hormones and hormone therapy and all that kind of stuff. She had a mastectomy, and she basically says that it ruined her life. And she won the lawsuit. This is in the UK, so at least that is something to be hopeful about, right? So the issue about children have, deciding whether they want to transition or not is something we shouldn't be talking about. Like, it's so obvious. Like, children do not have that capacity to make that life-changing or those life-changing decisions, right? If children are not allowed to vote, if children are not allowed to drive, if children are not allowed to buy alcohol, if children are not allowed to, engage in sexual activities, they shouldn't be allowed to make such decisions, right? And children should be able to receive the proper help they need to come into terms with their condition, okay? Now, whenever you talk about that, people talk about, oh, are you talking about conversion therapy? The irony here is someone says he's a girl, but then he's actually not a girl, and then he's been put on hormone therapy to turn him into a girl. And so someone trying to say that actually you are a boy, right? And we want to help you come to that terms with that. But then someone is like, no, you have to change and become a girl so that you will feel happy. So who is doing the conversion here? I mean, I don't know. It's up to you. You decide, okay? And one of the most important things we need to consider now is what's next, because we know that the slippery slope is there already. Canada is way down in the valley. They're in the ditch, doing their own stuff when it comes to leftist wokeness and all that stuff, right? And I have been saying this. I talk to my friends a lot about stuff like this, and I say, guys, I won't be surprised if in the next 10 years, this is not a prophecy, by the way, so don't say, oh, Kingsley, you prophesied. No, I'm just saying that if we are setting this dangerous precedent that children are allowed to override the consent of their parents, children are allowed to make such huge decisions, what is next, right? And the court is actually on the side of the child in this case, right? What is next? And I've been saying this, that I won't be surprised that in the next 10 years, pedophilia will be made legal, right? In some Western countries, I don't know about all, but certainly in some Western countries, I won't be shocked. And we have cases like Cuties on Netflix where children were dancing, that, you know, it was very erotic and stuff like that. Children, right? Teenagers, so I think they were 12 or 13, and people were celebrating and jumping and jubilating. You have drag queens telling stories to little children in libraries, right? And all these things, right? These gory, hypersexualized culture, and we're taking away the innocence of children. And as Christians, we need to know, listen, we have to speak up, because it will come knocking at our door. We're like, oh yeah, leave it to the world, let them. No, this is a spiritual battle, right? We do not wrestle against flesh and blood. We wrestle against principalities, right? Wicked spirits in the dark. And so we have to start speaking up about it and defend people who are in cases like this man. I mean, his name was not given because apparently, you know, they're protecting the child's identity. And we have to, and this is what I say, I never attack, you know, people with gender dysphoria or gender identity issues, whatever you want to call it. I never attack them. I have compassion on them. As a matter of fact, I think they are the victims of a, you know, hyper, what is the word I'm looking for? Hyper sexualized culture. They are the victims, right? And we Christians shouldn't direct the anger towards them. As a matter of fact, we shouldn't even deal with these issues with anger, but we should deal with it in love, right? So I have compassion on them, right? And I want to reach out to them and be of help. And that's what Christians should do. We shouldn't just let children suffer these abuses, and when they grow up and they regret and they detransition, we realize that it is too late, right? And so we need to wake up. Again, I say this all the time. That's why we need to wake up, okay? The time is now. The time is running out. And if we don't wake up now, cases like this will come knocking at our door, and we don't want that, okay? So thank you for watching this segment. Next week, or, you know, whenever I upload the next episode, I do have some good news about the Dead Sea Scrolls, and we'll be talking a bit more about it. Enough of the bad news for now. So next week we're talking about the Dead Sea Scrolls. I hope you learn a thing or two, and have a lovely day, week, you know, night, wherever you're listening or watching from. Now, thank you so much for all the support and the love, and stay blessed. Godspeed. See you later.